Now, whether you're a seasoned lifter or an absolute beginner, today's video we're covering mistakes that you simply shouldn't be making. Welcome to Science-Based Fitness. If you're new to the channel, my name's Adam. I have a degree in exercise science and I'm a personal trainer, helping you guys better understand fitness topics. The first mistake we're going to jump into is not training close enough to failure. Now, the way we specifically train is going to be dictated by our goals, but if you're looking to try to build muscle and get bigger, this is a key factor. This is one of my favorite studies on this topic. There's 4 different groups. The first 2 groups train heavy loads to failure and not to failure. The second 2 groups train light loads all the way to failure and not to failure. Here we see the pre-study measurements and here we see the post-study measurements. And it actually looks like most of these groups saw success when it comes to hypertrophy, except for one group. And this just so happens to be the group training light loads, stopping shy of failure. So the idea behind this is that training closer to failure is going to yield better results across the board. Now, the group using a heavy load, stopping shy of failure, still saw success. This isn't me telling you that you have to use a heavy load. The light load all the way to failure actually yielded the most hypertrophy, but keeping in mind that how close we actually train to failure does matter. We can measure how hard we're training by using something called RIR, which stands for reps in reserve. This allows us to dictate how many reps shy of failure we're stopping. Now, of course, this premise requires us to understand how hard we could actually train. If you used a weight that you could get to absolute failure would be 10 reps and we stop at 8, that means we have 2 reps in reserve. The problem with this measurement system is if you aren't familiar with training and you think maybe you could hit 15 and you stop with 3 reps in reserve at 12, you might actually have been able to do 17 or 18, and this kind of muddies the water with how many reps in reserve we have. The idea of just training close to failure with maybe 1 or 2 reps in reserve is kind of the window you want to be in. But yet again, this doesn't mean that every single set needs to be taken to failure. For example, if I'm going to do 4 sets on the bench press, I might take 1 set to absolute failure, have another set where I stop at 1 rep in reserve, maybe another set where I stop at 2 reps in reserve. Your level of training also will help dictate how many sets you can take to failure. If you're new to this, maybe try 1 set with 2 or 3 reps in reserve. See how you recover. If you're super sore, maybe that's a little bit too much. Just apply this to your training in a way that can help you progress. The second mistake here is program hopping, and this is more of a common thing I've seen people talk about a lot, and I think because there is some new research coming out on this. So it looks like the more you jump from exercise to exercise and have less regimentation throughout your training programs and you're not doing some of the same staple movements, you might not actually yield as good of results when it comes to hypertrophy or strength. And research on this topic does confirm this idea, and let me give an example of what I'm talking about. If I want to build size and strength in my chest, in the first week I decide I'm going to hit a bench press and then hit push-ups. That might be enough for a beginner in that first workout. The next week I decide I'm gonna hit a fly and a dip. The third week I see some interesting ball exercise for a push-up, so I use that. I then do an incline dumbbell press. You're starting to see a pattern here that there's really no consistency to what I'm selecting for my exercises. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't try different exercises, but you should have a few fundamental staples in your training program. For example, let's say I use the chest press machine every single chest workout. This allows for similar stimulus every single training day on chest. If I then want to hit like an incline dumbbell press one workout and then the next workout flies, the next workout use dips, at least now I have a little bit more structure. And the research mentioned that if you want to see the best results for hypertrophy, pick movements that have the similar training pattern but slight adjustments. Moving on to tip number 3, recovery. Now, this is going to be referring to protein intake and sleep. People overlook both of these things a lot. Now, with protein consumption, we don't have to get too carried away. Consuming protein is going to help with cellular repair, especially in those muscles, and that's important if we're doing resistance training. Now, the ideal amount to consume, somewhere between 0.7 and 1 gram per pound of body weight. There's a lot of research on this out there, and there's different advice you'll hear. That general range is going to be sufficient for most people. When it comes to the protein window and consumption on protein, if you guys want more information on this, I'm gonna link a video all about protein, diving into that at the end of this video. But now, sleep. Sleep is also really important and really underrated if you ask me. It's crazy to think that sleep deprivation can have a negative effect on your muscle protein synthesis up to 18%, and that's pretty wild. But not just that, it can also spike cortisol levels up to 21%, which can make you retain more fat, and in men, that can be more around the midsection, which is obviously something people don't want. If you guys are finding some value in this video, hit that like button down below. That helps this video get pumped out to more and more people. I'm just a small channel trying to grow, so I definitely appreciate it. Moving on to the next tip, doing cardio and lifting together. This can become problematic for your ability to build muscle. There's something called an interference effect. So let's say you're just finished running and you go to do legs. Well, your legs are already fatigued, your nervous system's tired, and your strength levels drop. This can negatively affect the amount of muscle hypertrophy you can experience. I don't recommend skipping your warm-up, but doing a low-intensity, steady-state cardio of simply walking or just biking to get the body temperature elevated and to kind of warm those muscles up is going to be the best way to go about doing cardio before weight training. An ideal way of training both in the same day would be doing cardio in the morning, resistance training later at night, or maybe flip-flop depending on your schedule. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, consider subscribing. That video I talked about with protein is right up here for you to click and watch. So see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.